Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Compliments of the season to you all. So in this short video, I'm going to show you how to achieve a simple puff sleeve or balloon sleeve. I'll be showing you two methods of how to achieve it. If this is what you want to learn, kindly keep on watching and remember to hit the like button after that. Let's go into this video. So the first method I'll be using, I will start by drafting out my basic sleeve. I'll just fold my paper into two. You can do this directly on your fabric. So the first line is my starting line, and I'll take the length of the sleeve. The length of the sleeve I'm working with is 5 inches, so I'll just mark it across. And I will add my hemming allowance of 0.5 inches. 0.5 inch. You can do 0.75. So the next is to get my cap height. But before that, to get your cap height, you need your round armhole measurement. This is when you must have finished stitching on the shoulder seam and the side seam. So the round armhole, you measure it, whatever it gives you, you have to divide it by 3. So assuming I've closed this armhole, this is what I'll have, and I'll take my measurements all around, and I'll be having 9.5 inches. I'll go ahead and divide that 9.5 inches by 3, and I'll be having about 3.1 something. So I'll just round it up to 3.2 inches, or I can just use 3 inches as my cap height. So I'll just mark that across as well and connect into a straight line. I'll go ahead and mark my chest line on this line, this cap height. You can as well mark your biceps measurement. So I'll connect it to the tip of the starting line and get the midpoint. This midpoint, I'll go up by 1/2 inch at the midpoint, and the second line as well, I'll divide it into 2 and come down by 0.25. This going up and coming down with different values depends on the age you are working with. So I'll just connect the back armhole first, and I'll go deeper for the front armhole. So I'll add my 1 inch seaming allowance and just connect it as a curve. So for the front, I'll connect the 0.25 inch that I came down with. The front armhole is always deeper than the back. So for the round sleeve or the sleeve width, mine is 8 inches divided by 2 is 4 inches plus my 1 inch side seam allowance. So I'll just mark it straight to the cap height. You can mark straight, or you can just give it a slight curve just to follow the normal proportion of the body. So on the hemming allowance, I'll just take it straight and I'll cut this out. I'll cut through the line for the back armhole first. Then when I open up, I'll have to trim off. After cutting, I had to fold this hemming allowance. If you are cutting, you fold the hemming allowance so that it will not be short at the width at down part, especially if you are not using it as a lining. You just want to add an elastic to it. So back and front is what I just labeled, and on the front, I will trim off my front armhole. So the front is now deeper than the back, and if I'm placing my notch, 2 notches at the front and 1 at the back. So I'll use this to cut my lining, but before that, we'll have to measure to check if actually it will align with our armhole. I'm taking away 1 inch on both sides for my side seam allowance, and I'll measure the curve, and what I am getting here is 10 inches. My armhole curve was 9.5 inches, so 10 inches is plus 1/2 inch which is very okay for it. It is very okay to have inch of about 0.25 to 0.5 inches. So I'll just notch my front armhole on my fabric alone, so that whenever I pick the one that is notched, the part that is notched, I will know is my front. So I'm working with a brocade material here, and I have this long piece of fabric, and I folded into 2. When I fold into 2, we're having the width as 29 inches and the length as 12 inches. So the length is almost times 2 of the height of my sleeve. So it depends on how full and how big you want it. I'll go ahead and fold into 4. So from the open end, I'll place my sleeve pattern, leaving out about 8 inches for my added fullness. So I'll just get the hem that have a uniform hem and I'll pin it at that end, and I'll mark a straight line up. From this straight line to the folded end is about 8 inches. This is my added fullness. This puff is a very big puff sleeve. So if you want a small one, please do 5 inches. 4 inches, 5 inches, and 6 inches will give you a small to moderate one. Then my height was about 5 inches in height, more than what the initial one. So I added fullness to the top and to the side. To the side I added 8 inches, and to the top I added about 5 inches or 5.5 inches thereabouts. Just take your sleeve up to get a curve. Just get a curve at that upper part, and I'll just trim it out. You can as well do this thing directly on the fabric without even drafting a basic sleeve. Just mark out a straight line first, draft, and you add your fullness. So this is what I have. My added fullness is already here. You can just trim it properly if it does not look curvy the way you want it. So, and this is my sleeve. It is way bigger than the first one we drafted. So the smaller one is for my lining, and this bigger one is my fashion fabric, which I'll be using to pleat on the small lining. So I'll just get the right side together, the down part, and I'll get the midpoint. I'll notch the midpoint on both my fashion fabric and on my lining. And I'll match those midpoints together and pleat the whole of this fashion fabric to fit into this small lining. So you can pleat or gather, whichever one you want to use. Just make sure that they are uniform and concentrate most of your pleats at the center. So less pleats at the sides, more pleats at the center, so that when you attach it to your gown, it will come out standing. It will not be draping to the left or right. It will just stand at the middle. So when I finish doing this, I will flip it over, and the top part as well, you will pleat it to fit in. The side, you will pleat it to fit the sides. See, the side of the fashion fabric is bigger than that of the lining, but you will still pleat it to fit the side of the lining. You pleat upwards, don't pleat it downwards. So I'll just pleat all this, and I'll come back to show you both for the two sleeves. I've done this, and I made sure most of my pleats were on the center part, less at the side and more at the center part. And for the sides, the same thing, so that it will be centralized. More will be at the center. So I will just close up the sides. Make sure that your fashion fabric overlaps about half an inch from the lining at the sleeve width, half an inch at the lining. Then you close with 1 inch or whatever seam allowance you left. So I left 1 inch, and I'll close it on both sleeves, and these sleeves will be ready to be attached to the gown I'm working for. So at this point, when I attach it, I'll just serge the armhole. The down part is already neatly closed, and as you can see, this is what I have. So if you want a smaller one, you go for a smaller figure. We will now be moving over to the second method of achieving this as well. So for the second method is splash and spread method. Using the same sleeve we'll cut out initially, I will bring a bigger pattern, but before that, we'll have to splash this. I'll mark at my midpoint, I'll mark lines of equal spacing. You can space with 1 inch, half an inch, 1.5 inches, depending on how full you want it. It is a thing of choice. Then I will splash those lines. So just mark it equally and separate it. I will number them before cutting through it so that when I'm assembling it again, I will not be confused. So I will splash. If you want the added fullness at the down part, you just open the down part. If you want at the up, you just open at the up and not cut all the way through. But I want my fullness to be at the down and at the top. So I'll just cut this into tiny pieces. And when I bring a wider paper, I'll just arrange it according to the numbers that I labeled. So when I finish arranging it, I can now space it equally. So I want my spacing to be 1.5 inches. So I'll pin the first one and mark 1.5 inches, then pin the second one. I'll keep doing it till I get to the end. So each spacing is 1.5 inches. You can do more. The more you add your inches, the more volume the sleeve is going to come out. So when I'm done doing that, I can now trace out the initial height of the sleeve, which I am doing now. This is the initial one. I have not added my fullness at the top. So if you want to add your fullness at the top, it depends on you how big you want it. But for this one, I'll be doing a smaller height of 3 inches. So this will add extra fullness at the top as well. At the width, I've already added 1.5 inches in between. So I'll just go ahead and cut through the line. So when I'm done, I'll just cross check the side to make sure they are equal, and if they are not, I'll just trim off. Or you can just fold your fabric and trim it to be equal. And when I remove this pattern is already like the one we used earlier. If I'm cutting on my fabric, I'll just place it on my fabric and cut, add my seam allowance at the top and at the down part. So with this, I can now repeat all the whole processes that I carried out on the first method, from cutting out the lining to pleating and to closing the side. This is the outcome of what I made with the first method. If you've watched up to this point, thank you, and remember to leave a like and a comment. Subscribe if you've not. And if you want to know how I made this gown, watch my next upload to know how I made this pleated gown. I'll be uploading it after this. Thank you, and see you in other of my videos. Bye.